Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Cape Town Sevens. This one, a 5th place semi-final between New Zealand and Australia. Now, this match is pretty substantial because just last week in Dubai, these were the two finalists. But it shows how close the Seven Circuit is. The fact that you can go from 1 versus 2 to now, this is just have a chance of playing off for 5th. One of these two sides, they will finish 7th or 8th. So a complete full circle for these two sides. Just in a week for New Zealand in the starting lineup, it is Scott Gregory alongside Tony Nashu, Dylan Collier, Lasanga gets himself to start, Natoa Tippo, Jaden Keelan, and also Brady Rush close out the starting side. So Akulia Roca Lesoa not in the starting lineup for this contest, instead going to be making his way off of the bench for the Australians. It is Henry Hutchison, their captain, in that number 1 jersey, Akanayake, Jaden Blake, Ben Dowling, Wallace Charlie, Josh Turner, and also Dietrich Roach, the last man in their starting side for this contest. Now, the last time that these two sides played, it was in the final in Dubai, like I mentioned, just 1 week ago. And we did see a relatively comfortable win for New Zealand. A lot more one-sided in that game than some were anticipating. Now, hopefully, this is going to be a bit of a back-and-forth one. Whoever wins this contest will go on to face the winner of the Spain versus Great Britain match on the other side of the draw. There's still plenty of excitement to be had for the 7th Circuit. For these two sides, we have got there, who's your pick for the matches, for the men's, says Scuba. So, South Africa versus France, the Blitzbox should win that. At the moment, they're on an undefeated streak of 3 wins in a row for the Cape Town Sevens. So, if it wasn't the home crowd really geeing them on, I think it could be a lot closer between those two teams, but I do feel like South Africa should be able to get themselves to win there. Argentina, Fiji, for me, is a bit more 50-50 and could come down to kicks made. And if you're basing it off that, Fiji, because of their accuracy off the drop kicks throughout this tournament, you'd almost back them, but it's going to be very close, or at least it should be. But then we thought Fiji versus New Zealand would be close, and then the Fijians ending up beating New Zealand by the 30 points. What is Argentina's path to the semis? Well, they're in the semi-finals. They are going head-to-head with Fiji, but they were able to finish in, I believe it was first in their group on the technicality. There were actually 3 sides that all found themselves in the position of 7 points, that being France, Spain, and Argentina. But they did go through for that points differential, the Argentines, as well as the fact that they were able to beat the French. And IH says, Thuds Rays, welcome in. If you are doing extremely well, the name change maybe back to Thuds Rays rather than Thuds Rugby. You probably got sick of me saying the wrong one, did you? And what is Argentina's? Oh, no, I read that one. And also Monday Rugby Sevens tomorrow. Says Reed, yeah, we have got an early morning in New Zealand. I believe the final of the 7th Circuit taking place at about 3:30 a.m. New Zealand time. Morning, Hamish, says Philip, welcome in. I almost forgot about these games, or AM games, says Robert. Yeah, we have got this game. Then the next match will be the women's semi-final between New Zealand and France. And then from there, the 2 men's semi-finals are the ones that we are covering. Evening here in Shanghai, says Claire, welcome in. And morning, everyone, says Philip in there too. But these two sides just making their way out of the tunnel. Like I mentioned, a repeat of the final that we did see last week. And the implications have changed big time compared to that matchup. At best, these two sides can finish 5th. At worst, they can actually finish 8th. And at the moment, the way that Australia have been playing, 36-0 loss to Argentina, 2-point loss to Spain, and then a 19-point loss to France. You'd have to argue that Australia are really not heading in the right direction throughout this competition, but they have lost the last 5 up against the Kiwis. If there was ever a time to be able to pull off an upset and get a big win, it would certainly be now, and it would really level out the playing field when it comes to points after the first 2 legs of the 7th Circuit. But the Kiwis ready to go. It's going to be kicked off from left to right by the Australians. This is the first match for these two sides of today, and they've only got 1 more around the corner, and theoretically that should be either the 5th place or 7th place playoff match, but it is going to be retained by Australia off the kickoff. Now, just inside of New Zealand's half. Use an old account, haven't made a vid in a while. Says Studs Race. You kind of need some sort of controversial moment, don't you, in terms of the Champions Cup refereeing. I'm sure there will be a few of them in near future. I know that there was the red card for the Stormers up against Bayern you could look at for the rolling maul stomping. It was in the end. That's going to be stolen for New Zealand in the breakdown. So now Lasanga round that halfway line. He was lined up by Henry Hutchison. About a second too late, but cutting back inwards, Jaden Keelan showing off his pace, and that should be the first try of the contest for New Zealand. Some good pace shown. Came at a perfect time for the Kiwis as well. At the moment, mine is slightly frozen as Keelan was running through, and unfortunately for one of the Australian players, he missed a tackle and he is just face down on the grass. It's like the worst possible freeze frame for him. It doesn't look like he was trying to tackle anything. But the New Zealanders score themselves the first try of this contest. And Sky Stop says, Novum, okay, so it wasn't just me then. It was experiencing a little bit of a Sky issue for that try, but I have refreshed and we're all good to go. And the score now 7-0 for New Zealand in the early stages of this contest. There we go. We will add that onto the score sheet. I think they've just mentioned that New Zealand have won 0% of their kickoffs in Cape Town. For a side that normally pride themselves on getting one or two and creating counter-attacks from that, it's probably where we've seen New Zealand struggling just that little bit more in terms of the points on the overall board. Tackle's going to be made by Scott Gregory. Australia dragged down just outside of their 22. Big counter ruck. Wallace Charlie does extremely well to be able to get that ball out. Now Ben Dowling holding it in one hand. Thought about the offload on the inside. Instead going to flick it now to Aiden Kanayaki. Tony Nashu trying to get the steal for the Kiwis. Ben Dowling offloading it back. Hutchinson under pressure. Great pick up there from Jaden Keelan, who offloads it as well to Gregory, and he does score for New Zealand. That was very nicely done. This is the type of thing that I'm sure they would have loved to be able to do yesterday for the Kiwis. They are currently on a 2-match losing streak. Yeah, that Stormers Red was poor. Says Studs Race. And who does Blackfern Sevens got in the semi-finals? They are playing up against the French in that contest. And then on the other side of the draw, it is Australia versus USA. So pretty much what we saw last week, just with a little bit of a reshuffle. About an hour for the Black Ferns. Is it that long? 1 second, we'll go like this. 50 minutes or so for the Black Ferns. We'll probably be starting that one. I think it's 3 minutes before the match. But yeah, the semi-finals always fly by because of the fact that there are only theoretically 4 matches. We are starting a little bit earlier for the first match between South Africa and France for the men's side of things. So we will be giving you an update of USA versus Australia for the women's game on that stream. Women's final likely to be Black Ferns versus Oz. Yeah, it doesn't seem to change too much on the women's side. It was the same last year. Now Wallace Charlie running this one sideways. Goes out to Ben Dowling. Does have the option on the inside of Dietrich Roach, but goes now into the wider channel for Kanayaki. Australia, it's not like they've had a poor attack throughout this competition either. They just haven't been able to break through. Ben Dowling goes to Wallace Charlie. Now across, Josh Turner, inside pass. This could be the chance here for the Australians, but again, a very low tackle made by Keelan. It looked like there was a little bit of panic there for the Australians, but now getting it back set. Here comes Ben Dowling, straight through the gap. Gregory can't make the tackle on him, and it will be another try. Oh, okay, Lasanga, that may not have been the smartest move there. No arms from the man after the try was scored by Dowling. Got to be very careful. New Zealand have already been known for starting fights in this Cape Town Sevens competition. So their game up against GB that they started getting themselves in a little bit of mischief on the sideline. Yeah, Lasanga putting in a shot and a half on Ben Dowling as he was scoring it. And Alex says, Coach Docs. So depending on where you are in the world will depend on your watching options. If you have Rugby Pass TV, and all you need for that is an email, but pretty much everywhere outside of major broadcasters for countries can watch it on Rugby Pass TV. So I'd recommend checking that out, seeing whether or not you can watch it where you are. The other options, of course, are your basic Super Sport, your Sky Sports, your Stan Sports, etc. And one's going to be knocked back. Nicely taken by Lasanga. Now Brady Rush. Tony Nashu just losing a few metres at the moment for the Kiwis. Now Brady Rush trying to get a little bit fancy. Lasanga slips over. That was almost a mistake for the Kiwis inside of their own 22. Now going short side. Dylan Collier going to back himself. Try and break through Wallace Charlie's tackle, and he does now. Hutchinson, 2-man tackle from the Aussies. Another offload. Brady Rush up the middle of the field. Passes it across to Scott Gregory, who is just jogging at this point in time, drawing them in. And Keelan does very well to take that pass. He was dipping down. He's actually had a very solid game so far in this match, Keelan. New Zealand needs a 1-year ban from Sevens. Why? Cats now, they won last week. Now going back across. It's first touch for Natoa Tippo, but they are going back for another penalty. Ahoy H, there's one Pia Bosch. And seems interesting that the Red Roses so dominant. But GBR Women's Sevens really not making much headway, says Studs Race. How many English ladies are in that side, out of curiosity? Because I actually don't know the numbers. That's going to be the penalty. No, sorry, the try for New Zealand. And again, it's going to be Jaden Keelan. Does manage to score. That is his second in this match. His third in Cape Town and his fourth in the Sevens circuit for 2025 and 26 this season. What we're going to do is we're going to update that score. It's going to be a relatively tricky kick, I would say, so we can't guarantee anything going over for the Kiwis there. Just too good, men and women, we need to catch up. Oh, so you're banning them for being too good. But this is playing off for fifth. So I feel like, or in fact, this isn't even for fifth. This is to get an opportunity to play off for fifth. You know, that sneaky side Argentina, they went from playing off for eighth to now in the semi-finals. They're the ones you got to keep an eye on. But now 5 seconds remaining in this first half. That is a brilliant kick. It has gone over, making the score 21 points to 7 in favour of the Kiwis. Nicely taken by Kanayaki. Now big drive in the breakdown from New Zealand. Henry Hutchison ends up with the ball, and it's a big knock on to end the half. Frustration there for Wallace Charlie, but the Kiwis, they are leading now 14 points ahead, 21 points to 7 at the halftime break. I'm going to update that scoreboard. Like I mentioned, next game is going to be New Zealand versus France in the semi-final. And All Black Sevens probably played badly in the pool games. They seem to be good but bad. But, wait, they seem to be good, bad, bad, good, etc. Can we ban the box for a year? 2027, not 2026, says Studs Race. I think there'd be quite a few unhappy people if that was to take place. The Blitzbox, they are looking like a real contender though in this Sevens competition. I do think that they have a very good chance of going on to win their match up against the French, and then whoever they face in the final, you have to back the Blitzbox to be able to get that win too. Second half of this contest, currently, like I mentioned, 14 points separating them, in New Zealand getting their kicks over. Same with Australia. I can't think of a game throughout this Sevens competition, and I could be wrong. Have we had any match that hasn't had a single kick missed off of the tee? 25-7, there would have been one missed. I'm just looking through at some of the most recent fixtures. Those ones that I'm looking through at, 19-14, there was a missed kick there. I'm going to jinx this by saying about it, aren't I? 40-0 for the Fiji women over GB. That was also with a missed kick involved. 36 for Argentina, had a couple misses there. I don't think any game has had everything kicked over 100%. And now that I've said that, this game won't either. But at least they're on the right track, these two sides. Currently 4 from 4 in the kicking accuracy. They are just showing Table Mountain in the background there for the Cape Town Sevens. 13 minutes away from Spain versus GB. That will be to determine who plays the winner of this matchup. They'll be going head-to-head in a couple hours' time. New Zealand and Australia back out there on the field. Cape Town crowd not as large as we saw yesterday, but I do think that is because we're early on in the day. And as we get closer to those finals matches, including the Blitzbox playing in 2 hours or so time, that is when we'll see a lot more people filing in to the Cape Town stands. But it is kicked off by New Zealand. Get this one back underway. Nicely taken under the high ball by McGregor, who slammed down to the turf. And H, when the day comes and you go to South Africa, make sure you have a braai with... that's a hard one to say. I'll have to probably write it down because or else I won't be able to say it to whoever is doing the braaiing. Covering BBL, probably not this year, I don't think. Now stepping sideways, Josh Turner goes back across to Henry Hutchinson. Now Aiden Akaniaki passes one more on the right-hand side. Dietrich Roach offload there. That's nicely done by Australia. He has to score it close to the post. We want to see the 100% continue, but that is a great try for the Australians. Looks like maybe dislocating his thumb in the process there, James McGregor, or he's looking down at that wrist with a bit of discomfort. That is very nicely worked by the Australians right down. There's one Beer Bosch. You may have to remind me closer to the time, I'd say, or else I'll probably lose the piece of paper, seeing as it's probably a good few years away. Finishing it off, James McGregor First try for him in this contest, and he's only been on the field for a very brief amount of time. The kick's gone over. Tell you what, we're still sitting 100%. There is still hope in this contest to go the full match without a single kick missed. Haven't had it happen throughout the Cape Town Sevens as of yet for any sides, men's or women's. Perhaps this could be the one. Going to be kicked off by Dietrich Roach. Not a huge amount of distance on this one. Just travels the 10. Nicely claimed by Brady Rush. Now Dylan Collier. Across to the left-hand side. Little shimmy there from Tony Nashu. Gets it there to Lasanga. Now back across to the left-hand side. Scott Gregory. Thought about flicking it on the inside. Can't quite get it done. Lasanga back across to Collier. New Zealand just inside of their own half at the moment. Tony Nashu, the captain, going on the outside to Natoa Tipo. New Zealand just don't seem to quite be linking up at the moment, but they do have times in their games where they just look like they are resetting, going slowly, jogging towards the opposition line, and here comes the step from Keelan. He has been tackled more by the grass in this game than the opposition. Keeps on slipping over. Perhaps that is something to mention just going into those finals games. If there are little errors like that, could be the difference between the wins and the losses. Now Collier, back across now to Lasanga again. Oh, that's a huge shot from Dietrich Roach, and there is going to be the penalty going the way of New Zealand. We see it there, Dietrich Roach just apologising to Lasanga. I don't think there was any sort of ill intent in that shot. Does just catch him a little bit on the jaw. I don't think it will be a yellow card though. I think it's going to be fine. There's a switch now happening for New Zealand. We see Keelan making his way off of the field. That brings on Riley Williams. For this match, we've seen 36 passes from the Australians, 32 passes from New Zealand, and an extra 3 offloads from the Kiwis just at this point in time. It's 1 versus 2 in the overall rankings, but I have a feeling it's going to look very different at the end of this competition. Brady Rush going for the grubber in behind. Using a little bit of pace here and just not quite getting there was Tony Nashu. Nicely taken by Australia just out from their try line. Now another step. Scott Gregory, I know. In fact, that time was the man who just made his way onto the field. And Riley Williams. New Zealand losing the chance to get the turnover there. Brady Rush still going for it. See, England lost 4 last wickets for 7 runs. Not much of a target for us. I think England lost that game when they dropped all those catches in the first innings. That seemed to just hurt them. Like, Australia aren't a side you can afford to put down like 5 catches up against, unless you really want to be chasing about 500. And Cape Town has had mad fires this year with the heat. Surprised the era is clean. Cape Town wind with the fires has been a disaster, says one Pierre Bosch. It does look pretty warm out there. I'm not sure of the exact temperature in Cape Town at the moment for the Sevens competition. That's going to be another loose ball picked up by the Australians, firing it out wide to Henry Hutchinson. Still 3 minutes remaining in this contest. Now, I will mention if Australia get themselves a converted try here and then we went to full time, we would have another matchup or another couple minutes taking place. That's a nasty chop from one of the New Zealand players. Australia will run it in and score, but that looked like it was just a blatant knee chop from the Kiwis, which they may even have a look at here. Okay, they're just asking the question, is it more than a penalty up against the Kiwis? We're going to see the replay. It was extremely late. So you'd have to wonder whether or not they will actually check this one. It was the youngster Keelan who decided to go for it. It was nice work from Josh Turner to score. Now still trying to keep that 100% accuracy off the kicking tee for these two sides. And Dietrich Roach gets it over with 21-21. With just a couple minutes remaining in this contest. I think they've reviewed that tackle and they have said that it was fine. So now with the 2 minutes remaining, although it doesn't look like he's too fine in the background, looks like he's still struggling with that knee. In fact, that may even be a different player in this case. That looks more like William Cartwright. I think the guy who got the knee chopped out was actually James McGregor. 4 tries on the 7th circuit for William Cartwright. 2 tournaments in total up the wires, says Tamati there. And not too long until we see the Warriors back in action. I'm tempted to cover some of their games this year, purely because of the fact that we did international rugby, and I feel like doing a bit more of the NRL heading into that Rugby League Cup would make perfect sense. Cape Town 26 degrees today, says Philip. Now ready to kick this one off for the Australians. Like I mentioned, if it is a draw, we go to golden point. If not, one of these two sides would have won in the final 2 minutes of this contest. Back across to the left-hand side. Now Riley Williams. Thought about driving it sideways, but nice tackle made by Dietrich Roach. Bit of a counter-ruck from the Australians. The risk of doing that, though, is you normally leave a little bit of space on the outside, which New Zealand are trying to exploit at this point in time. Dylan Collier now with another step, pots it on the inside. Nice offloading from New Zealand, and a great step in there too. Breaking through, and it will be the try for New Zealand. Or is it? Yes. Natoa Tipo does score, but he got a little bit risky trying to make it into a 7-pointer. Obviously, he knows that this could be the first game that we see all 7-pointers taken rather than 5s as well. I wanted to make it a nice, easy kick. Of course, that also gives New Zealand that bit more of an advantage going into the last 90 seconds. And yes, please cover the wires, says Henzi. But yeah, we ended up covering the Kiwis all throughout their Rugby League international campaign. So perhaps we should try and get the Warriors going. And maybe it could be, well, I don't want to say maybe it could be their year, because everyone says that every year, and it hasn't ended up happening yet. But perhaps if we cover all their games, it would be absolutely incredible to see that be the year that they can do it. That kick has gone over. 50 seconds now remaining on the clock, and New Zealand are up by the 7 points. This is where all you need is just one more big moment. A penalty one, a drop ball from your opposition, and you can go on and win this game. A yes try New Zealand, says Jasmine. That's going to be nicely claimed by the Kiwis. They are driven into touch. So 30 seconds remaining, and it will be Australia's chance to be able to get one last move going. And your beauty, says Studs Race. And let's go Lakers, says Damati. And I have to try and find some rugby to watch until the next Sevens tournament. See, I recommend, well, I was going to say I recommend the Champions Cup, but then sadly that's not free to air here in New Zealand. So it's a tricky one. Whether or not you look at maybe, I don't even know what else is on other than Champions Cup and URC, which are both paid subscription ones. And then you have Future, nicely taken round the halfway, or sorry, not round the halfway between 22 and 50 here for the Australians with 12 seconds remaining on the clock. They need a converted try to get back into this contest and take it to golden point for the first time in this Cape Town Sevens tournament. Love that league internationals. Hopefully NRL commits to that every year. Players are available. See, Studs, yeah, it was thoroughly entertaining. Those matches taking place. We have got the Hamish, what's good? Says Rare Pie, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. Currently, the Australians looking to get one last try in this half of rugby. As we just pass over that 14-minute mark. New Zealand looking for the steal and the breakdown. That is slapped on. Bit of a slip. And it has gone forward anyway. So that will be the end of the game. Wait. Or is it? No, it's a penalty going the way of the Australians, which does mean they still have one last chance to be able to get that one last attack going. Houston Rockets for the bro Stephen Adams, says Henzi. And there as well, but currently Australia around the halfway line. And like they said, if there is another try here, and it is converted by Australia, we will go to extra time for the first time in this competition. That man looking fresh, haircut looking good. I didn't get a haircut, but thank you. I think it's just because of the fact that I slept, and for some reason this part's sticking up, the rest of it's sticking down. And that's a yellow card for New Zealand. So that does mean if we do go to golden point, New Zealand will have less men out there on the field off the penalty going against Sam Clark. Gallagher Premiership Rugby from England has a few games on Sky TV. Really enjoyed that comp. I kind of prefer it to the URC. That is true. Gallagher Premiership could be a good watch. We've actually seen some really good performances from Premiership sides throughout this weekend too. In the Champions Cup. Now, quick tap taken by Australia up against a 6-man New Zealand. Currently 90 seconds past the full-time siren. And they still want to get that last move going. Hutchinson going into the corner. I can see what's going to happen here. Australia are going to probably score right out wide. And then they will have to get the kick over to be able to turn it into golden point. Now, stepping almost through there. The good run from William Cartwright. Ball's still on the side of the Australians. Now left-hand side again. Henry Hutchinson goes across. This is the big chance for the Aussies. Oh, and it's dropped out wide. Put down by Ben Dalton. And that will be the end of the game. New Zealand win it 28 points to 21. So it does mean we get a game without any missed kicks from this Cape Town Sevens competition. It means Australia have gone from the final last week to playing off for 7th this week. And the Kiwis, they are going to be playing for 5th in this competition. Did you see Rico pass the ball for the first time since 2021 for Leeds last night? I haven't actually seen the second half of that contest as of yet. So I haven't seen how Rico went, but hopefully he's going all right, similar to what we saw for Geordie Barrett when he went to Leinster. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. We'll be jumping over to that next live stream between New Zealand and France in the very near future, 32 minutes away. To anyone who is new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. 2 men's semi-finals straight after that as well. South Africa versus France and Fiji versus Argentina. But thank you all very much for being here, and I will see you all for the next one.